Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Intangibles podcast. Today, we are with Preethi again, and this time we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the VP education, the love notes, the timer sheets, all of these details that Preethi set and took care of to make sure that our meetings could be a success week in and week out. So, let's dive in.
We go to that first demo meeting and then you guys kind of just start taking off. Part of that is having a leadership team, having an e-board, and you take up this VP education role, which is known as the hardest role because it's the one where everyone knows whether you're doing your job right or not, because the meeting's either going smoothly or it's not. And you take this on for the year, and not only the year, the first year of Tiger Tails. So you're building this culture. Can you tell us about that experience?
One thing I think I've always had, a lot of people are good at the big picture scenario. I'm okay with it. I understand a lot of it, but I always have the question, okay, how is it going to work? What do I have to do? When you say math, okay, integration, when you put a pen on paper, what do you have to do? 2 plus 2 or 2 minus 2? And that's what happened with the Tiger Tails. When Halim explained, we have this e-board and these are the roles, so we also need to find people who are fit for that. And it was automatically decided that Halim is going to be the president, of course. So he was going to become the guy who reaches out, makes the group bigger, charters it, all that big picture questions. And then somebody had to shape out how was the meeting going to look like. It was Halim had a good idea already thought out, which was, he's not going to have a 2-hour meeting. We're going to have 1 hour so that it's quick enough. But I really appreciate Halim for giving the freedom to me that I could decide how do we select the room and what timing would work for people, or even the little niches of, having those placards for people who are playing a role, all those things. And I think it came in like a couple of months. It didn't happen the very first time. Certain things, the rooms and everything were decided before the second meeting or the official meetings. But eventually we started realizing, we need a sign-in sheet so that we can know who's coming again and again. And then we need the placards, and then we need these. And then the Kit Kat rule came out because we wanted to motivate people. And I think it was because we were seeing the students and how their demeanor was. We were seeing staff. So it was an ongoing process. But at that time, I think I remember the first 3 months, I was the sergeant off and the VP.
Oh, wow.
So I had to be there in the room before everybody was there and set up everything. Most of the first 2 or 3 meetings, I don't even know who spoke and what was the speech about, because my entire concentration was, we have 5 more people. We need to catch them after the meeting, and we need to ask them, are they interested in the recruiting mindset? Also finding out flaws, what went wrong, why did we start 2 minutes late, who was not here by being a role player that day. So things like that, and confirming with people, that's happening right after the meeting. So for the next meeting, are you okay playing as the evaluator or not, stuff like that. So it is a little bit tough because there's too much on the plate for that 1 hour quick meeting to go as smoothly as possible.
Hi, my name is Preethi Vaidyanathan. I'm a PhD student in Imaging Science Department at RIT, and I am the Vice President of Education at Tiger Tails at RIT. My job as Vice President of Education is to basically make sure that all the members get what they are interested into. One of the real important goals of Tiger Tails Toastmasters is to make sure that every member is working towards their goal, which is to be an efficient public speaker. And my role as Vice President is to make sure that we get a personal touch into the relation that we build with each member and help them in every way we can. One of the real important part of RIT is how they are actually helping international students learn English, and that's through the English Language Learning Center. And we also invited these students to come and learn along with us, not just the language, but also how to talk to others, both in conversation and in public talks. That's how we invited all these different ELC students, and they were really responsive in coming, and they really enjoyed it. And a lot of students, what they found in the feedback was that they had a good experience only by coming again and again to the meeting, and that's why they knew what the meetings, what these get-togethers were actually about and how they were actually fun.
think once you get the hang of it, and you get a sergeant of arms, you don't have to worry too much about it. Of course, we started training Catherine. When she joined, she started getting into the hang of it. You were sergeant of arms at one point in time, I remember.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, Rob was not fit for it. I remember that. Because I chose him the very first a semester, as the sergeant of arms. Khalif and I was like, oh, Rob, he's good. She should be on the e-board. I thought, okay, to be the president or the VP, you need to work up. That was my thought. Yeah. So you need to be the sergeant of arms, doing little chores. We'll see how good you are. But then Rob was just, he was okay at sergeant of arms. He would be there, but it's just, and then we saw his potential as president, because he just started talking it to the student government people and all that. So he's the only outlier in transitioning to president instead of walking up the chain. And we were starting new, so I had all the liberty to carve out all the process, which makes it easier for me compared to anybody who comes after me, because they have to follow whatever I wrote.
Yeah, especially with all the things that we set over the course of that first year, it's almost like those grooves got carved really deep, and so to keep following in those. I was curious to hear more about that 55-minute project that the e-board did after every single meeting, just that after meeting report of, like, we started 2 minutes late, and that every single second of the meeting, it felt like, was being kind of tracked and measured for how do we make this meeting even more efficient? How do we get more into it without adding that extra time?
I think that idea was from Halim's mind. He just had thought about, I don't know when, but I think when I said to him that I liked the meeting I went to, the Toastmasters meeting, it was just a little bit too long. Maybe that was just confirming what he had already thought about. We were aiming for having faculty, staff, and students, all three of them. And you cannot get them in the middle of it. Well, we didn't think about the evening timings before. I don't like evening timings. I still don't like Toastmasters at 6 o'clock. But I do get the idea of why that was useful too. So our priority at that time, the first semester, was getting it in the middle of the day on a Friday. So in the middle of the day, you can eat your lunch while you're here, and you can, be on your way in an hour. And then anything we did, mingling or extra talking, and all of that can be done after that. Everybody doesn't have to stay for it. So that was the key point of, making sure that every single second was planned for. I remember there was one meeting where Chad was the speaker, and he was probably running late or something. And I had to fill in my introduction 2 lines or 3 lines until he showed up. And when you have to fill in the time, you just jumble words and throw at people. It just doesn't make sense. So it was a way to improve that part too, that everybody needs to be there on time. If not, let's have a backup speaker ready or some other plan ready. The first few months, I think it was mainly to, until we chartered, it was mainly to show people that, look, this is not a waste of time. And even when it moved to the evening times, which I like the part where after the meeting, we mingled so much. That was, good feedback for that timing. It was just, I had to wait until 6 p.m. I was like, you can't go home yet. You have Toastmasters. But once you make it to that meeting, it's just so joyous. It just felt like everybody who walked in through the door just either was already like that, high energy person, or they became one, after mingling with other people. So I never found that meeting, even at 6 or 7, as, oh my God, I have to go to this meeting and talk to people. Is it still 55 minutes?
So a big part of the reason why I was wanting to hear more about that is that our meetings have moved to an hour, and then an hour and 15 minutes. And it's tough because it's Zoom, and there's so many extra things that go into it that to want folks to mingle afterwards too. But we're moving towards an hour and a half. Part of this is to remember where we started, to make sure that we don't lose that urgency that comes from that start. We had to get this done in 55 minutes. And so to pack as much good stuff into those 55 minutes as it's possible. And if we end up doing that for an hour and 15 minutes, that's okay. But just to make sure that we don't lose that sense of urgency that I think we started with. A lot of Toastmasters clubs sort of fall into the meeting gets longer and longer as the folks who are familiar with each other want to stay together and they don't mind so much if it goes over. But then you have a guest and they think, wow, this is just going and going.
Yeah, and so that's why I think I like the fact that we mingled afterwards. We didn't give any break in the middle. One thing we did was time every single thing. Time how long it takes. So if the meeting's supposed to start at 1:30, it starts at 1:30. Whoever is the introductory person just starts the meeting at 1:30. And if the speaker comes in 2 minutes late, fine, we'll switch it. We'll be ready. But then, eventually, if a speaker was late, we also make sure, we politely tell them that, next time, just make sure you're on time. It's kind of another thing you're improving at the same time as a speech. It's not just speech, it's your timing. And we made sure that everybody spoke only for the amount of time that they were allotted.
Ever have to drag somebody off stage?
Kind of, yeah. We had to a couple of times, but we did it in a very polite way. Either we let them go at that first time and then tell them afterwards that please make sure you're in time. Because when you go to a contest, even as evaluator, you don't have 10 minutes to just evaluate one speech. You have the time counter that shows up. With Zoom, I can understand. You have, first of all, you have those technical stuff. The starting might be where it takes a little bit more time. Like, hello, people, how is it going? The weather is nice. And then the starting gets 5 minutes long until you start the speech. And it's exactly what happens when you're physically in the room. We stopped doing anything like that. We just said hello, how is it going? 1 minute. Even that was timed.
Wow.
That person had a specific time that you only have 10 seconds to introduce and then move on. And any announcements at the end were also fine. So the president comes up, says thank you for all the speakers, boom, 2 announcements, then you're done. Yeah, if you look at the times on a person is spending or every aspect of the meeting is consuming, you might be able to cut short the meeting to at least 1 hour.
I think the big thing that got us up to an hour 15 was we went from 2 speakers to 3, maybe a couple years in, because at one point we had like 45 members. Our VP education then, her name was Dahlia, and she was pulling out her hair trying to figure out, how are we going to fit everyone in to just give like 2 speeches a semester. And that's kind of how we got to the decision to have 3.
Good idea though, yeah. See, we never anticipated our club to be this hit. So we were like 55 minutes to speaker. And actually, first year, it was a little difficult to get speakers. I mean, sometimes we had to force, Gina, can you be the speaker today? Just an emergency speaker. And so we repeated a lot of expert speakers because we didn't have speakers, newbies. And then I think what you're changing is absolutely a good idea to, if you want to accommodate everybody and you want to make sure that everybody gets a chance at least, once a month or once in 2 months, you have to, make the meetings longer.
There's a discipline that it sounds like you guys had with timing that we can definitely learn upon now.
Yeah, bring back the time counter for every single person, don't let them, tell them everybody's going to be evaluated on a time basis as well, because that's something people forget. I mean, I even forget now when I have to give presentation, somebody has to hold that in front of me.
I've done a 5 to 7 minute grammarian report, I'm pretty sure. Another bit of feedback about one of the powerful moments of your speech is the conclusion to your story about being in India and how you felt guilty about her hospitality and how that convicted you. And you hedged your language there by saying you felt kind of pretty guilty. And that was one place where if you had just stuck with, I felt guilty, that would have made the message more powerful. I love being the grammarian. I probably went entirely too long, but I hope that helps.
And we've seen that somebody starts counting hours, and even that is a little bit of a learning, because you think the job of an hour counter is just to report on the number of hours. But the sheet says ahs and ums and so's. If it's a novice, they start saying you had 5 ahs and 2 ums and how many filler words? End of story. So we changed that to saying, just tell us what the total end of it was, because all those words are bad. We're not supposed to use it. That's it. Same thing with grammarian, they start listing, oh, you used a nice word number 1, word number 2, these words are not regularly, no, you just say what was, specifically outstanding or not so good. Maybe you can bring grammarian accounters to follow what evaluators follow, say 2 things that were good and 2 things that were bad.
Kind of like a sandwich method of this is what you need to improve, taking this out, or did really well here, and go from there.
Yeah, and I mean, if the speaker really wants to get into the depth, they can just get the sheet from the grammarian and the accounter and work on it. Are you still doing the little cheats that the audience gives us?
Yeah, the love notes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's cute. How do you do it on Zoom?
It's got the private chat, so it's real easy to send all the notes to everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
What's really cool too is you can just save the chat and then put on your downloads folder or whatever and come back to it after the meeting.
I think our club was maybe it's still different because of these tiny little things that we did, Kit Kat, but I've not seen that in any other club, or they had food and everything. It was just making it a little competition or fun out of it. And then these little love notes. So it was just all these little tiny things that we made our club different.
Hope you guys all enjoyed and learned something about all of the little details that go into making anything successful that involves leadership, whether it's a project or a Toastmasters meeting. Join us for the next week, where we'll be back with Preethi one more time to see what she's been up to after Tiger Tales. See you next time.
Now, a moment you guys have all been waiting for. I'm going to announce our table topic winner. The winner is Sarah. Special prize, some chocolate. Oh, wow. Congratulations. And to finally conclude our meeting, I'm going to call upon the coolest person in the world in this room right now. Oh, that's me. All right.